Buenos días a todos. Guten Morgen. Good morning. Soy Gabriel Jiménez, responsable de Relaciones Públicas de la filial española de AXA Springer. Y hoy tengo el honor de hacer de maestro de ceremonias, de presentar esta jornada, la German-Spanish Digital Media Day, que me produce mucha alegría. Antes de nada, quiero agradecer a todos los presentes que nos están acompañando en este día tan especial y también a los que nos están siguiendo a través del streaming. Y me parece que me produce mucho, quiero agradecerlo sobre todo porque esto es una jornada muy interesante, yo espero que promete ser muy interesante y sobre todo inspiradora por los temas que vamos a tratar, entre ellos la inteligencia artificial, la sostenibilidad en el ecosistema de la comunicación y la lucha por la atención, temas que están muy candentes en el ecosistema en el que nos movemos. Ahora vamos a comenzar con el Opening Keynote, en el que se hablará del impacto de la inteligencia artificial en la publicidad. Y para ello quiero dar la bienvenida a José Antonio Martínez Aguilar, JAMA, CEO de Making Science, y Benjamin Bunte, director de Pilot.
So, good morning, everyone. So, first of all, thank you to the German-Spanish Chamber of Commerce for inviting us to this fantastic event, Germán for the organization, and for the Minister Chancellor of Commerce, and for the President of Chamber of Commerce of Spain. Yes, today we are going to be talking about media and artificial intelligence. Let me talk a bit about myself first. So I'm the founder of, and I will be joined by Ben Bunte, who is the Managing Director of Pilot Ignite. Making Science is a Spanish company. We are now in 14 countries. But we have presence in Germany, and we have a joint venture with Pilot in Hamburg called Pilot Ignite, very successful one. So as we are going to be talking about AI data and the impact of media, but let me begin about Making Science and who we are. I found it, I'm the founder, CEO, and major shareholder of Making Science. So Making Science, we are now 1,200 people. We are present in 14 countries. UK, Germany, France, Italy, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, US, so a lot of the countries. We started here in 8 years ago in Madrid. And basically I started, to give you why we are talking about AI, about Making Science what it is. I was trained, I'm a master science in computer science and telecommunications. This is my MBA, everything. So my first 10 years I worked in technology and software, mostly in Vodafone Spain. So 10 years of tech, there is a reason for this. Then I started working for a great company called Google. So I joined quite early, 2005, and I worked 10 years at Google. I was working in Canada, in Portugal, in Spain. So I saw the tech and the data, and I saw the media, right? Google, obviously, globally. And it was very clear that tech was basically changing everything. Of course, media was changed. Axel Springer, all the media people here know very well what happened to the media industry started in 2000. But it was clear that was just the beginning, right? So when you're at Google, when you have a tech background and you understand what's going on, you see, okay, this is not going to stop, right? And now we have ChatGPT, and everybody, all of us are, it's getting very clear for all of us, the impact of AI and technology on us as consumers, and of course on us as companies, right? And basically today Ben and I are going to be talking about what's happening, how it's impacting on media, and how we think it's going to affect, which is going to be more, right? Because all we are seeing, what we're seeing is basically acceleration. When you are in the exponential curve, you don't know, right? Because you always see in the linear, we as humans are always think, are trained, the world is linear for us. We are in the world of weight, of mass, where Newtonian laws, are mostly about weight linears. They are not exponential for most of the things. And it's difficult for us to predict what's going to happen. But the reality is we are in an acceleration mode, and we'll see some data points during the presentation today. And we call this from data chaos to AI clarity. We hope AI will give some clarity to us, right? So why people is saying AI is, the next big thing, after human beings, discovered that we have imagination and that we have self-conscious, and they were able to paint things in the walls, and then the Industrial Revolution, right? So nobody knows, but it's a big thing, right? When we experience what ChatGPT can do, it's like, when more advanced societies went to less advanced societies, and they see, machine guns versus, traditional weapons, or when people saw the first vehicle, like late 19th century, right? So it's a big thing, we see that and we say, wow, this is changing, right? So it's a big thing. And for sure, in terms of technology, it's the third big shift, right? So we thought the internet, started 1993, 94. ARPANET, started in the 60s. When we go to the internet, we watch a huge shift, a huge change. Then we have the mobile revolution. Started also GSM in Europe, right then, 3G, and now we're having 5G. It changed all life, because basically it removed the space limitation that we have as humans. Right, and now we are talking about AI, right? Which basically is removing us with our brains, which is I think it's a philosophical thing, It's basically is removing enough of the need of having a lot of knowledge in our brain, which is crazy, right? And if this is the Google thing, I'm going to be talking about acceleration, as I was saying at the beginning, right? So basically, all this AI thing started in 2017 when basically Google published a paper which was about the transformers, which basically changed the way these large language models work, right? I mean, ChatGPT-4, it has 180 billion of parameters, right? 180 billion is a lot of parameters, right? So we are not able to think about what is billions of parameters. So my point is it's very smart, right? Because let's say a human being, a person that reads a lot, you read a book every week, you read 52 books per week, right? So in your lifespan, you can read 1,000 books, 1,000 books. ChatGPT basically has read all the books in the world, in the history, has read all the newspapers, all the internet, everything, right? So anything you can imagine as a human being is not comparable to what ChatGPT can do. Even the smartest person, that you go, Gauss, any of the genius of the history, who have big brains, have everything, high IQ, is nothing to compare of language, right? So it's the same thing that when you never think to compete or fight with a gorilla, 300-kilo gorilla, right? Because you understand the physics, what it takes. You understand what you can do to a small, squirrel, something small, You understand what the gorilla can do to you. We need to think about that, the same thing what's going on in language. So what happened is basically this is accelerating. Not the crazy thing, with the different language models, T5, Lambda, Palm, BARD, and now ChatGPT, which basically it's moving exponentially, right? And we as humans don't learn as exponential. And I think this chart is very interesting in terms of how, in terms of innovation, right? So basically, this was the Transformer paper by Google in 2017, and basically what happens is this is like evolution, right? So some people, some species took, one route in terms of how they evolved technology, some others took other, right? But the interesting thing is, the time frame, right? So basically, you have few things happening, and suddenly in 2023, you have lots of things happening, which basically it's a lot of people around the world innovating around AI. And what happens when a lot of, it's a good example I always say, I will put as an example is what the mankind and the human beings can do when we focus in one problem. And one problem is the vaccines, for corona, right? Suddenly, probably, if corona was, let's say, a milder virus, it wasn't that aggressive, probably, all the researchers of the world have been focused on creating a vaccine for 20 years, a group in Hamburg, a group in the US, Washington, so different groups. But suddenly, all the researchers of the world started to work together, and sharing papers, sharing innovation every day. And what happens is, after a year, you have a vaccine, right? Which was amazing. This is what is happening here in this thing. It's basically, all the researchers of the world are starting to innovate around AI, and that's where we are seeing that incredible progress, which is even in a year, so you started to use ChatGPT-3 and you're starting ChatGPT-4. It's amazing. When you think about what ChatGPT-5 will do, our minds will be blown away, right? This is an example. This is, right now, when you have somebody which is that smart, right? It's like, do you remember the British Library, that has, millions of volumes of books, right? One key is how to ask, to the librarian what book to find, right? Because it's so many books. So now, when we are talking about AI, the important thing is prompting, right? Prompting is how you ask a question, right? In the first search engines in 2000, InfoSeek, Yahoo, you remember to say, I want a company, and you remember you use and or, when you were making questions, and now you're starting to do long sentences to ask Google, because Google was smart to answer long sentences. And now, because the ChatGPT is so smart, basically the question can be, a 2 pages long question, which is the prompt, right? Because it's so smart that you can ask him questions which is not, give me the best car insurance in Spain, right? No, you can ask him, you can make a question which is basically 3 pages long, because basically he can understand, right? Because he has read so much, and he can give you a right answer, right? And this is an example, this is the same prompt. Give me a beautiful pack of white walls matte painting, and this was in March, in August 23, This is the evolution, that we have, in terms of this image is been basically created by the generative AI, right? So that's the speed, which everything is changing, right? And I'm gonna give you an example for the Star Wars.
In a galaxy far, far away, prepare for a reboot like never before. This summer, Wes Anderson brings you a side of the Star Wars universe you've never seen before. The Galactic Menagerie. Join this ragtag crew of unlikely heroes as they navigate the absurdity of the cosmos, challenge the Empire, and redefine what it means to be a rebel.
Our mission is simple. We steal the Emperor's artifact, save the galaxy, and maybe find ourselves along the way.
For this mission, we'll need lightsaber, blaster, thermal detonator, paper airplanes, spare parts, and R2-D2.
With a star-studded ensemble featuring the galaxy's most eccentric cast, the Galactic Menagerie is the most delightfully offbeat Star Wars adventure yet. Starring Timothée Chalamet, Scarlett Johansson, Edward Norton, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum, William Dafoe, Adrian Brody, and Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Coming to theaters this summer, may the Force be with you.
Okay, so what is amazing of this video is that no graphic designer or no movie editor has done it. So basically it's been produced just by making questions, and statements to a search engine, like the one we see. So like create me, R2-D2 with this face, or create me, Luke Skywalker, which has a face, of William Dafoe, right? Basically this is being created by just making prompts to a very smart image generation engine. And so you can do, basically you are able to create a, let's say 1 minute or 1.5 minute video, right? Just basically asking what you want, right? So because basically when prompting, what we're asking the machine is, this is what I want, generate to me, and it can create text, of course, answers, it can create sounds, it can create images, and it can create videos, right? So, and this is, as I said today, right? So my point is like, we are basically right now in a moment, probably we are in the like industrial revolution time, or maybe, when prehistoric people discover, paintings and imagination, right? And basically the thing is that it's going to be a big shift in terms of for consumers, right? Because consumers, we know, who has used ChatGPT in the last 3 months? No? Okay, so adoption is amazing, right? Because nobody, I doubt, nobody in this room, so basically 70% of the room is using ChatGPT. You knew ChatGPT a year, so she's the pioneer, she's the pioneer in the room. Right, so nobody knew about ChatGPT in this room, and basically in a year we see 70% adoption, which is one of the fastest technologies adopted in history. Right, and it needs to be adopted by consumers, and needs to be adopted by the enterprises. It's going to be different. Right? Consumers will adopt whatever it brings value to us. Right, enterprises is more difficult, because you have legacy, you have politics, you have systems, you have processes, and it's always consumers will always adopt technology much faster than companies do. Right? But the reality is like everything is going to be changed very quickly. Like we are used to. This is, for example, what you'll be asking, search engines very soon. So you'll be asked these kind of queries, like search swimming, and basically the engine will be producing you real time these kind of images, the same way we saw the Star Wars video. And think about what is the media industry, which is about basic text, image, video, and sound. So, and it's been producing content and distributing content. Distributing content was very expensive, right? Digitization basically reduced dramatically the cost of distribution of content. And then when you think about the P&L of any publisher today, Axel Springer or any other one, you think the cost base, most of it is going to be personnel, right? Because distribution, it used to be distribution, right? It was printing and distribution, huge a big cost in their P&L. Now, most of it is, like content production, right? An organization. Because you need to have a lot of journalists, editors, and so on. In 10 years, very likely you will have a lot of virtual content producers, right? I know it's scary, and we need to think how we are going to manage this, right? Because a lot of false news, and bots and things can be created. Like Now it's a bit of big problems, you know, with banks, you know, because they can emulate your voice, right? Right now, basically with a few sentences you speak, you know, these engines, you know, can basically emulate a conversation by you. So it's very dangerous, but it's like all new technologies, you know. It's like you can use the iron, you can use for making a sword, you know, or a machine gun, or you can use bridges, right? So technology in terms of evolution for the mankind is always good. The question is, what do you do with it? But this is going to be not very far away, you know. You'll be able to create these codes, you know, you'll be able to ask for new products or design products very quickly in terms of how you create that, because basically you have a very smart counterparty in the other side which understands you and can create images, video. Basically, it's going to be real time, right? And you know, like the shopping experience, buying is going to be immensely different. And I think it's like we get scared when we get these things, the same way we probably got a bit scared with the internet. And I remember the Napster, right? You remember when Napster, you know, the music industry was, okay, Napster, people was copying songs and so on. It was crazy. But I think we just need to embrace it, right? Because it's impossible to fight against technology. The only thing you can do is embrace it, right? And basically, I mean, we need to remember Mr. Arthur C. Clarke, you know, who thought about, you know, like Space Odyssey. It was 55 years ago, right? So he was a real visionary. Right, and basically he said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? Same way, you know, I was talking about machine guns and everything. And this is basically what's happening with AI right now. So this is the introduction. So we need to get ready for change. So, you know, like, you know, fasten your belts, because it's gonna be very interesting, even for us, right? Making Science, we basically leverage our growth basically on digitalization against traditional agencies or traditional players, right? I'm a bit scared right now because I say, okay, do we need people? What kind of people do we need? How many people we need, right? Because suddenly things can be much more automated. Okay, and basically before passing to Ben, Ben is going to be deep diving a bit more about AI adoption in the German market. A few things about what's going on in AI. I mean, no wonder, you know, in terms of funding. Like basically last year the funding is growing like crazy. Right now all the money is going to AI ventures, because it's like every subject matter expert in each industry can find use cases for those ones. And basically when you think about this, you know, this was the landscape in terms of 2021, and did you have, you know, like different companies, you know, AI infrastructure, analytics, machine learning applications, real-time databases, you know, basically all the technology, and this is 2023, right? So it's like you remember when in the car industry at the beginning of 20th century there was like 200 makers of cars, you know, around the world, right? So Daimler was in Germany, and then Mr. Daimler with his wife Mercedes, right? But that was around the world, you know, even in Spain there was consolidation. Same thing is happening right now when new technology is coming, which is basically AI, you know, which is creating incredible amount of companies, you know, in all the industries, and that's not going to stop. When we talk about adoption, as I said, this is a research from IBM, and it talks about adoption of AI worldwide, right? And it's asking companies, this is 2022, whether they were exploring AI or were deploying AI, right? And actually, Germany and Spain are more or less, you know, so 1/3 of the companies are already deploying AI, 40% are still evaluating. And interesting thing is this, to me, is this. You see China, right? Which is, you know, like, I mean, probably, you know, the state surveillance, you know, is forcing people to use AI. But the reality is, like, they've been very proactive in terms of how companies are embracing AI, right? I mean, if you think about retail, you know what happens with Sing, you know, so you know what Sing is, when a competitor. So basically, it's a retail AI-driven company, right? If you compare to Inditex, you know, so the fashion industry has moved from fast fashion, right, which was basically the Inditex move, to real-time fashion, right? And you can do real-time fashion if you have data, rather than seeing. So that was putting an example, you know, of what's going on in China, right? And when you talk about marketing, the cases, and we'll talk later a bit more, the cases for AI, you can do a lot, right? So this is a Salesforce research. So what can you do with AI? So automate customer interactions, you know, in the call center or in your web, you know, like within chatbots and everything. personalized customer journeys, right? So we know what happens with Netflix or Spotify, basically can personalize everything for you. Automation, customer identity, bridge online. I was listening the other day to the chairman of Bank of America, which basically he said like they did their own engine because in the US you have the routing code, in the bank account, I don't know in Germany. So basically 75% of the calls in the call center were because people have forgotten, the routing code, writing a check or whatever. So they did a use case of automation, very quickly because 80% of the questions were about getting the routing code for the bank accounts, right? But my point is like there are all kind of cases you can do with AI, and we'll go after to finish. I will go into more detail, applications that you can today, even this is overwhelming, which is happening. And with that, I'll leave it to Ben, and I will finish later. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Rama, for the introduction. Now I brought some insights for the German market and the adoption of AI in Germany. It's not all about ChatGPT if we talk about AI. AI means artificial intelligence, could be used for several use cases, for several topics. And Germans, we are usually really skeptical if it comes to innovation, unfortunately. Regulation is one of our key concerns. Many Germans have seen or acknowledge that AI will change their lives. So more or less than 2/3 of the people already know that artificial intelligence will do something with their lives in the future. So we hosted at our company, so I'm from Pilot, which is a media agency in Germany with around about 500 people doing advertising services for clients. We hosted an event, I think it was October, November, a few days before ChatGPT became public to the people. And some experts told us about generative AI, transformer modeling. So transformers, I know them as toys as a child or as movies, but didn't know what to do with transformers. And until then, I thought that I have to teach my kids that they should learn some coding software. But in this evening, I learned that this was the wrong way. I have to tell them to learn prompting, like you said, how to ask the machine in the right manner. And in Germany, 2 months after releasing of ChatGPT, more than a third of the population already heard about ChatGPT, which is quite impressive. And many see the potential for the economy. So Germans see that due to the use of AI in various economic parts of the country or other industries or other segments like medicine, etc., AI will deliver progress and meaningful progress. They also see AI rather as a chance, as a risk, which is quite good. 75% are seeing AI rather as a chance, but of course, regulation has to be considered. This is the first topic, one of the first topics Germans think about, how to regulate new innovations, which of course, breaks us in developing. As usual, the younger people, they adopt quicker than the older people in terms of AI. So if you speak to young pupils who are tech savvy and smart, they prompted how to write an essay for the English class. And as the teachers did not know ChatGPT before them, they managed to deliver grade A with 15 minutes effort. So this is quite impressive. But until now, I think the teachers already have learned how to control the language style of an 8th grade pupil with a doctoral grade essay. This is no match. So what we do, if we use AI once, we tend to use it twice as well. So the experience with ChatGPT is similar to experiences with other AI companies or AI providers or companies which use AI to provide their services. For instance, I brought a German company which has their base in Cologne, is valued as a unicorn right now since last year, I think, and it's called DeepL. It's a spin-off of a website which was called Lingui, and they compared German or websites between, for instance, German and British, and they compared the translation, which was conducted by real humans, and tried to give translation, and now they rebuilt it into a AI-driven translation service. You could install a widget, click string CC, and then everything will be translated, or you can upload whole documents. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation to put into another language, you load it up, and the translation will be done in seconds. You load the file down, and everything is done, which formerly had conducted by a translation bureau or other employees in your company. So this is quite impressive, and there are a lot more things to come, like Rama said. If we come to marketing or to use cases for marketing, people think that, of course, in marketing it could be used for marketing itself, for retention of clients, for production as well, for buying purposes, etc., etc. So many parts of companies could profit from use of AI. And skip this one. And we also, in Germany, are proud of some entrepreneurs who invented AI companies. For instance, Richard Socher, he's an expert now. He went to USA. He's from Dresden, and he invented formerly a company which he sold to Salesforce. Now he invented U.com, the first AI search engine. So he was the first one to use the chat protocol and large language models to provide his users with right answers using large language models. And there's another guy, Jonas Androulis. He was employed at Google for a few years, lived in Silicon Valley, but then he returned to Germany and founded Aleph Alpha, which is a competitor to OpenAI, the company of ChatGPT, with data security in place, like GDPR compliant. And they try to scale up their business using an own large language model. This is one of the German hope regarding AI progress. If we speak about marketing and the several marketing value chain and the communication channels we use, we see quite a good adoption rate until right now. So if you have a look on the separate channels, you've got search engine advertising, you've got social advertising, you've got traditional digital media, and you got all the traditional media channels, which could be summed up as TV, print, cinema, radio, etc. And the work steps which have to be done formally manually do by craftsmanship. Bookings on publishers were conducted with fax machines, so you had to keep in mind the fax numbers to be more productive and faster. But then every single channel faced productivity increase by process automation, so automated bookings, etc. Then we come to AI analytics, where data which is derived from the activities could be analyzed in a faster way, and the results could be produced quicker and with a higher quality. Then the next shift was AI content. So Hammer, you already showed the typing in, make my shoe orange instead of violet. And this production could be scaled in a really, really exponential way, which was formerly conducted by creative agencies. They had to produce, for instance, 1,000 advertising banners per week, separate formats, separate creative sizes. This could be conducted by a machine within seconds. So this would change the industry, of course. And now, to a later extent, it's AI delivery. So that media channels or marketing channels, the delivery to the people is conducted by AI as well. And what we see is in search engine advertising, Google already uses it with their automatic algorithms, Meta, TikTok as well. They're using it. The digital media space is now at the stage of AI content, but not at AI delivery. And traditional media has a way to go. To give you some examples, Bing was the first to enter AI models into their search engine because Microsoft owns a part of OpenAI and ChatGPT. And they try to bring new ad slots into the chat function of the search engine. And of course, Google followed quickly because they're fearing the innovator's dilemma. So everybody knows the case study of Kodak, who missed the digital photographing and were kicked out of business. And Google already had their language model in the shelf and put it out. But what will happen with search engine advertising today? We type in, give me a good car insurance, to keep your example. And there were, for instance, 10 links to click on. And you click every link, and the search engine earns on every click. If the answer an AI is able to produce is more specific and better, there's only one click and only one company will win the search if it's advertised based. So this could be a real shift. Regarding traditional media, regarding the other parts of media, in Germany you see that everything is going to be bought via machines. This is called programmatic advertising in the sector. And we did some case studies and were first movers in two parts, because cinema is becoming digital right now, and print is at least be bookable right now via machines. And so the automation and the more processed booking digitalization increases in the whole sector. So at least today, you could book almost every placement or every publisher via machines. Like I said before, the really change with the highest impact is in creation right now, because of the exponential opportunities the machine can deliver by producing or generating eyes. You had the example with the wolves. There are some baguettes. One of the German ADC, which is a group of an industry committee, they already conducted a whole campaign for their own creative agency festival with AI, which wasn't liked by the creative agencies by themselves. There was a big controversy, but they really early saw the potential of AI and used it for their own campaigns. So what will happen, or what happens right now, what will happen within the next month? So currently, AI in marketing is used for algorithmic media optimization, creative optimization, strategy, research, etc. These things could be conducted really quick with AI. Maybe some things I recently thought about discussing with one of my colleagues. Every website which is produced is optimized for Google. It's called SEO, for search engine optimization. So the website you program is programmed in a way that Google can read the website, reads the content, and lists you in the search engine. If you don't rely on search engine optimization, your website won't be found on Google, so you could let it be. But now it will change to artificial intelligence optimization, could be named AIO, for instance. And advertising space will change in terms of supply and demand regarding the impact of AI on the publisher spaces themselves. Like if you have search engine advertising, if the search is more narrow, you have less space. For instance, in digital out-of-home or in out-of-home posters, there won't be any AI if you just paint or glue a poster to a wall. There's no AI, and there will be plenty of space. And if we have AI in mind, we will see that many channels will be affected, and market will change quite rapidly. So this is from my side. Thanks very much. And back to Cámara.
Amazing overview of the German situation on the market. And to me, the interesting thing is we saw, like, as consumers, we adopt AI very quickly, ChatGPT. But in Germany, you have the industrialization in one side of your brain, but then the privacy in the other. And that can be a problem, right? Because imagine that in 18th century, some German industrials didn't embrace, automation of the vapor, in the production facilities, because they have some privacy concerns, right? And you see what's going on in China, right? And the reality is, like, we need to embrace and we need to run, because the countries and the companies that don't run will be left behind, because you are facing other things. So very quickly, I'm gonna land it. We need to adopt. We need to use it in media. So where should we use it? And we see three things that you need to do. First is automation, predictive AI, and generative AI. So automation is a must, right? All the media companies, all the advertising agencies manage so much data. every day in terms of campaigns, in terms of, you are a retailer, you have 50,000 products in your website, 200,000 of products. It cannot be done manually. So you need to embrace automation and data processing in the feed publication, bidding, customized reports, data integration. The next thing you need to embrace is predictive AI, which is basically predicting the future. But that's been the AI that has been with us over the last 5 years, which basically is probabilities. Probability that the visitor to my website is going to buy, the probability that is going to buy this product or the other product, the probability that is going to book and is going to cancel, or is going to buy a product and is going to return. Knowing information today of what's going to happen, if I know any of you is going to book in, we are talking about Rio, and you are going to book a hotel. And if I know you maybe are going to cancel, I have a high probability of cancellation, maybe I'll send you, a discount or something. The ability of having information today, it's an advantage. And the last one is generative AI, which we are at the beginning. And that, as we can see, it's going to be crazy. Okay. And this is an example, this is Rio, which is very, very related with TUI, as you know, a very German company. So basically using automation in terms of how basically combining the demand of the different hotels, different kinds of hotel, family hotel, more business hotel, destination, they are able basically to create personalized ads, for every keyword, for every basically same thing you saw when you were querying, creating a personalized ad for every product. And basically you create efficiency, right? So industrial revolution brought efficiency in production. Basically, data automation and predictive AI brings efficiency in anything which is related with information, right? And so 99% more bookings and 45 more media investment. And this is another case, this is a case of using, the first one was automation. This is the one of using predictive, right? So this is a retailer, Carrefour. So basically, predicting the lifetime value of a user allows you to maybe give them a different offer that if you are thinking just as a first buy. Now it's perfectly possible when a visitor comes to a website, to Amazon, not to calculate the probability to buy, but also the lifetime value of that, the predicted lifetime value of that user. And basically you can take actions based on that. And so predictive lifetime value, a propensity to buy needs to be adopted, in all your strategies for websites. And the last one is generative. We did a case, with this website with Ventis. Basically, we did this with ChatGPT. So basically we created 7,600 descriptions with prompts. We did it with $20, right? So basically $20 is what basically in the market, if you ask a journalist to write a post, let's say 300, it's going to cost you, a good quality one will cost you 20 euros. So we were able to create 7,600 product descriptions, for $20, right? So that's the gorilla, that is the 100-kilo gorilla, that we are facing, right? So you need to embrace generative AI very quickly as well. And to finish, right? Oh no, did we repeat that? No, sorry. So this one, okay. I'm gonna repeat the presentation. So basically, the point is that you need to move, it's not, especially for the companies that are behind, are not doing anything, you need to start doing things. You need to start doing automation, you need to do predictive, and of course you need to do generative, but you need to start doing something because if not, you'll left behind. And the point is to start, doing automated reporting. If you're a media agency or a media, you need to do reporting, then you need to do attribution and media mix modeling, automatic content, lifetime value, right? It's difficult, it's impossible to calculate a lifetime value if you don't have the data correct, right? If you don't have the basic data of your user, how many purchases he did. This data, basic reporting needs to be good before you need to do everything, right? And to close, so remember Peter Drucker, management guru, who said, that the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself. The biggest danger is to think with the logic and the ideas of yesterday. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you like the presentation. And if you have any questions, happy to answer. Question? I don't know if you have time. I don't know if we have time. Questions? If anybody has a question? Yes.
Speaking about generative AI, there is a big issue that is being talked right now. This is about who owns the rights of the things that are produced, the IP.
Yeah, I know.
What can you say about that?
I don't know. I mean, there is like a few lawsuits right now. Get the images, against engines, because basically you produce the images, reading millions of images, and there is data which is open. Like most of books are free. All the books more 50 years old. I don't know. I really don't know. Innovation goes always ahead of regulation, and we've seen with the internet, we've seen with data. And I don't have opinion. I think typically the market finds a way to deal with this. I think the problem in the world right now is that there is not a common global standard for what is the law, right? Because you have China and you have others, and you have Europe, you have the US, and we've seen, with patents, what innovation in the last 50 years as well, copying cars, copying everything. So I don't have an answer. I don't really know. I think what will happen is like the people that feel that they've been steal, they will they will take people to court. And judge, will, it's the first time that somebody robbed somebody, there was a judge that say, okay, you're guilty because it's a property. So I think the first time it happens, regulation will develop, because it's innovation. But I don't have an idea. It's very complicated. I think the big challenge there also is the size, who can, because Sam Altman said the other day what was the cost of training ChatGPT-4, and he said, somebody said 50 million to train the system, and he said much more, right? So the question is that there is a huge barriers of entries in terms of investment, for these models. And so this is like, when industrial revolution came, you have labor relation problems, so innovation brought a new, labor, there was not labor law in 1800, right? Because there was not the need of that. So basically innovation brought the need for new regulation, and that was labor law. And there was privacy regulation. There was no privacy regulation before the internet, and now it's going to be digital assets ownership regulation, right? And maybe ChatGPT claims that it's himself, the owner.
Thank you.
How fast do you think it's going to impact you?
I think very fast.
Very fast.
I think.
How is it going to impact the media agency? You have big networks. Are they already facing this?
I don't think it's early. We internally have like groups, which they call it the AI powered teams, but it's difficult. I mean, when it's at the beginning of innovation, is very difficult. Of course, I mean, we've done these things. We've done a test of creating ad copy, at the scale, and it's of course the ChatGPT has much more words than any other ad copywriter in the world, and it will beat that. The question is how, in reality, is how to industrialize it. I mean, everybody. The same question I asked you, we asked it at Making Science who is using ChatGPT for their work, and everybody's using it, But it's using, its own way, right? There was an MIT research, like it was published, it was 3 months ago. So basically, they gave basically two groups, 300 people with ChatGPT, 300 people without ChatGPT, and they asked them to write a report, a press release, so basically a few things. And basically, the people who used ChatGPT and was the first time they used it reported they were 30% faster and 20% quality of the content, right? So as a human, it empowers you, right? And the question is how to industrialize that in a knowledge-based organization, right? So how to make sure everybody use the same tools, the same prompts internally. That's what we are trying to do, right? So when you are doing this, use this prompt to ask ChatGPT, but it's difficult. It's way easier to organize an industrial plant than a knowledge-based organization, right?
So last question.
Yes.
We have two. Some weeks before we were in the online marketing rockstars. Javier, the marketing director. Some weeks before we were in the online marketing rockstars events, 17,000 people in Hamburg, and they speak about this, the problem to find engineers, specialists in getting the information to the prompts.
Yeah, prompt engineers.
They told us. But you listen, you heard to me, and they have to pay more than $300,000 for the income for this kind of people. So it's a big problem also to find the specialist. And in Spain, people who can pay, which company will pay $300,000 a year for some.
But it's like it's like when the COVID hit, there were no masks, and market price of masks went high very quickly. Now you have prompt, but I'm sure there will be. I think there will be engines to write prompts, very quick as well. So it's like, I think it's going to democratize very, very quickly. That's what I think, right? Yes.
One question. You said basically that one crucial part for all the AI and especially language models is like the training and training data, which is of course also a very expensive process, as you mentioned with ChatGPT, the $50 million. So basically that means that only large companies or large investors are able to actually develop big models, and like little startups or like a company just starting out basically lack the resources to develop like models large enough with training data.
Yeah, but on the other side, you have, there is competition, right? that's a good rate of the market. Like when you're talking about operating systems, Apple was first with iOS, and Google was left behind. So they launched Android, and they decided to open source. Right, basically, because you have the market leader was Apple, and Google said, okay, let's open source. So basically, that's what Meta is doing. They are open sourcing their models. So basically, if somebody open source, that will happen with software, and you can use models. Some people can use those models, right? The same way you were able to use Android, and there was a new Xiaomi. We didn't have Xiaomi or all these Chinese brands without Android, right? Because Apple, it was like Symbian, I see Reyes here with Nokia, Symbian did their own thing, with Nokia, because they kept a closed operating system, right? And Android open. And so I think it's going to be a huge competition globally. I think it's like, I said, like the Corona vaccine, right? So suddenly the world everybody's thinking the same problem, and when that happens, it's a lot of people in the world, and they're going to do a lot of innovation. But let's see. I think there will be, there's going to be competition. There will be private models, open source models, and so I don't think Big Brother, one single model, maybe in China, but I think it's going to be open. Yes. No questions? That's my opinion. Any more questions? No. Thank you very much.